Hope you're doing well today. It's March 26th, if I could speak. Our reading today comes from Joshua chapters 12 through 14. We're going to be keying in on on verse 6 of chapter 14 and onward. Caleb's request and inheritance. I'm really not comfortable calling it Caleb's request because we'll just read it. Verse 6. Then the sons of Judah drew near to Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, said to him, You know the word which the Lord spoke to Moses, the man of God, concerning you and me in Kadesh Barnea. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought word back to him as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, my brethren who went up with me made the heart of the people melt with fear, but I followed the Lord my God fully. So Moses swore on that day, saying, Surely the land on which your foot is trodden will be an inheritance to you and your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God fully. Now behold, the Lord has let me live, just as he spoke, these 45 years. Notice 45. From that time, from the time that the Lord spoke this word to Moses, when Israel walked in the wilderness, now behold, I am 85 years old today. I am still as strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, so my strength is now, for war, for going out and coming in. Now then, give me this hill country about which the Lord spoke on that day. For you heard on that day that Anakim were there with great fortified cities. Perhaps the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out as the Lord has spoken. So Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, for inheritance. Therefore Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, until this day, because he followed the Lord God of Israel fully. All right, let's talk about Caleb. One of the points we could make about him is the idea that you might suffer for other people's sakes. Because other people sinned, Caleb suffered. And the reason that I somewhat emphasize that 85 years, it looks like these 45 years, he says, it looks like that they're in the wilderness for 40. So what's been happening in the last 5 years? That Caleb did not, once he crossed over the Jordan River to the land where his foot had already trodden, he didn't kick back and say, All right, I'm here, give me my land, give me my mountain. No, for 5 years, he's been fighting with Israel, not fighting against Israel, but fighting with them as they were dealing with all the things that are being dealt with. Dealing with the inhabitants, the land allotments, all of those things took time. And so for 5 years, Caleb has patiently been waiting. And now he says, and this is why I say I don't like saying it's a request, because Caleb says, Give me the mountain. It's time. He had suffered because other people had been unfaithful, because other people had been disobedient. Caleb had to wander in the wilderness, and I understand Joshua did too. But sometimes we find ourselves in situations where it's not our fault. We're trying to do what's right. We want to do what's right. And Caleb gave a good report as was in his heart. And yet, because other people had given a bad report, Caleb had to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. Thanks. But it happens. Sometimes we suffer because of other people's sins. And that's just the truth of the matter. It also makes us appreciate, though, the individual nature of judgment, if you will. Because all those people who are disobedient, all those people who gave the bad report, they're dead. God condemned them. With most of them, God was not well pleased. Their bodies dropped in the wilderness at various times. Not Caleb, though. That if we will follow the Lord and be faithful, then even in a dead church, there can be those who have not defiled themselves. So we appreciate the individual nature of judgment, that while we may pay a temporary, we may suffer temporarily because of other people's sins, we will not suffer eternally. And so we appreciate that. I don't think it's wrong that Caleb was looking for his reward, because he was looking for his reward. And he says, just as the Lord spoke, and I appreciate the fact that he didn't even really take it for granted to the point where he says, there's Anakim there. And as he says, let's see where he says it. Perhaps the Lord will be with me. He understood the battle still belonged to the Lord. He says, yes, I'm as strong as I was in the day Moses sent me, and I still have my strength for war, for going out and coming in, but the battle belongs to the Lord. Perhaps the Lord will be with me, and I will drive them out as the Lord has spoken. And there was still work to do. And that's Caleb. He's not looking for a lazy man's recliner. No, there's still work to do. And he's going to do that work. He's going to do that work, and that's Hebron. Appreciate you. Hope everything's going well. Hope you join us for our next brief look into God's Word.